What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Draconic Sports video. In today's video, we are going to be giving you guys the hottest possible takes we could find within our Discord server. Now, we made sure to ask everyone within our Discord server to give us at least one of their hottest sports takes in general. So this is not just NFL, not just NBA, but this is all different kinds of sports, their worst or their best opinions on different sports topics. Anyways, without further ado, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps out the channel a ton, and we'd really appreciate it. And do not forget to join our Discord if you want to be featured in future videos similar to these. Anyways, without further ado, let's get right into the first hot take of the video.
For our first hot take, we have from Red as a Pigeon. The Saints will be the most improved team next season. That is quite the hot take. So I will say I did like a decent few parts of the free agency, bringing in ETN, more O-linemen, buff that up. So you could Shock a better shot at doing something on offense. I'm not really sure how their defense is going to be able to, especially when they only really lost pieces, it feels like, on defense. But they have a decent draft pick coming up in this upcoming draft. So maybe they'll get a star on defense to help them out in that aspect. But let's see how their hosts feel about this one.
I don't think it'll happen, but a quarterback who was one of the most improved quarterbacks, even though he was a rookie. I mean, he was definitely improved from what the idea of what people thought he was going to be. Just overall as a team, I don't think so. I like ETN, but I don't think he's a game changer. I think he's just a really solid above average running back. And yeah, at the end of the day, they just don't have many game changers. And the guy they have at the quarterback position will improve, but he won't become a game changer, in my opinion, to the point where they will improve significantly.
The New Orleans Saints, they finished last year at 6-11. They won a little run at the end of the year, winning a couple games, so they got into a total of 6 wins. On average, the most improved team in the NFL wins between 7 to 10 games. So at minimum, they would have to finish at 13-4 to be the most improved team in the league. I highly doubt the New Orleans Saints will finish at 13-4 because that likely wins them the NFC as a whole, even with like a last place schedule and Tyler Shuck, who showed some promise last year. I just don't think they have good enough pieces around him to succeed. I do not think that they will get 13 wins next year. I wouldn't be shocked if they had like 8, maybe 9, but 13 is crazy. And that is Aaron saying Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs is overall a bad move looking at the players that they gave up, which I completely agree with. Chiefs gave like a record-breaking contract to Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP. Walker, 3 years, $43 million. That takes up a lot of their cap space for a team that was already struggling a little bit with cap space, and also just traded Trent McDuffie, their number one corner, again after last year trading Snead, who was their number one corner. Chiefs are going to have not nearly as good of a defense next year as they had the last 2 years, which towards the end of like the Mahomes dynasty, the defense was their calling card and the reason they were winning games more than Mahomes himself. So without a defense and without like a super good wide receiver room, even if they have like a really good running back, I don't think they are any better than like a barely sneaks in wildcard team for next year.
I don't know. It was a weird move. Did not expect the Chiefs to go all in on a running back. First time they've done that since Clyde Edwards-Helaire when they drafted him in the first round back 4 5 years ago, whatever it was. At the end of the day, they kind of had to address something on offense to give their offense a little bit of a punch. They did lose a lot on the defense. They still got Spagnuolo, but we'll have to see how much of an effect the loss of these key players, is towards their defense. Probably agree more with this take than I disagree, but optimistic to see if Kenneth Walker gives their offense a little bit of life.
Okay, I wouldn't say it was a bad move per se, but to be honest with you, they probably weren't keeping more than like one of those players, whether it was McDuffie, Watson, and there was literally nothing they could have done about losing those players. If they don't sign Kenneth Walker, they get to keep like one of those players. Because like running backs only are making 14 mil a season when you have to pay like a top end corner like 20 mil. So like it's like a give and take there. I do think this is going to make things more interesting, more fun. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to need the help. He's probably not even starting week 1 because of the injury. I think that alone is going to prevent them from winning the division next season, but we'll see on that. I think Kenneth Walker's a pretty good running back, so I don't hate this move. I do agree with you; they kind of overpaid, so like it might hurt them, but I wouldn't go as far to say it's bad.
All right, next up we have Dell giving the take that the Spurs will win the NBA championship this year because no other team can match up with Victor Wembanyama, and even if they do find a way to somehow stop him, they still have all the other offensive weapons in Castle, Fox, Vassell, etc. And they are elite on both sides of the ball, and they don't have playoff experience, but the Thunder showed that doesn't really matter when it comes to winning a chip as they did that last year. If I'm being honest, I kind of agree with this take. I think in the West, the Spurs have already showed that they can definitely even dominate some of the better teams in the West. Last year, the Rockets were the second seed, and we saw that they were pretty much frauds because they didn't have that number one guy that they really needed. They just did a committee type of offense, and it didn't really work when a guy like Stephen Curry, who was the offense, and so they were kind of a fraud second seed last year. I think they are not a fraud second seed, and I think they actually are similar to last year's Thunder in the way of they're young. You don't really know what's coming. I mean, you kind of do in Victor Wembanyama, but you don't really know what's coming in the rest of their offense, considering they have a lot of guys that are either really on or really off, like Devin Vassell. But then you have really good, consistent bench players like Keldon Johnson. So I like the Spurs a lot. I think that they definitely could win the championship this year. I'm going to say that I agree with this take, but I could definitely, you could definitely make the argument for other teams like the Thunder. But I think the Spurs, at the end of the day, are more likely to win the NBA championship than a lot of other teams.
So Spurs are interesting. I guess I've liked how they played so far. I will say I'm not the biggest basketball expert among our hosts, but from what I've seen from them, I like them. They've played really well against the Pistons. But yeah, like I said, I like what I see, so I don't see why they can't do it if they got the talent and they're playing well. Like they'll get tested in the playoffs, but I think this team definitely has a shot at it at the very least.
In the last 24 games the Spurs have played, they are 21-3, and 2 of those losses were without Victor Wembanyama. So in the last 20 or so games they've played with Wemby, they've lost 1. The only game they lost was against New York. That was in Madison Square Garden, I believe. And New York is definitely one of the bigger threats to these teams that have racked up a ton of wins this year. But the Spurs, I fully agree with this take. They absolutely can win the chip this year. They have, at least for me, the last couple months, shown themselves as a much more consistent team than the Thunder. I had this as a question of the day in the Discord earlier. By the way, join the Discord in the description. I had a take that for the Western Conference teams, I would feel much better going up against the OKC Thunder right now than I would against San Antonio Spurs if I was a Hornets fan. And I think a lot of the league should share that sentiment because these guys are young, these guys want it more than anyone else, and they are competitive. Slushy had a whole list of takes he put in, and the one that I'm going to highlight is actually one that I disagree with. The Commanders continue to struggle and miss the playoffs next year. I disagree with this take. I think that the Commanders are going to come back next year with a vengeance after having one of the worst years of injuries I have ever seen. Their entire team was injured, offense and defense, including their quarterback, which cost them a lot of games, and their backup quarterback actually got injured too. They were starting Josh Johnson for a while. Josh Johnson as a quarterback is not the first person I think of when I think of the name Josh Johnson, and that's when you know that is not a good NFL quarterback. They had their running backs got injured this year. Both their main wide receivers got injured this year. Half their defense got injured this year. The Commanders were not the same team this year that they were in 2024, who can compete in the NFC East, which I do believe will be the worst division of football next year.
So I don't really know how I fully feel about the take. Unfortunately, Daniels got hurt, and that really sucked. But I will say the 2024 team was arguably one of the luckiest teams in NFL history. An insane nearly 80% conversion rate on fourth down. That's just not something you see. It was the most by almost 10%. In a lot of ways, I don't know if we're going to see the 2024 Commanders again. I also don't really like a lot of their free agent signings these past few seasons. They have a lot of older players that just haven't been great for them and keep getting injured because older. At the same time, I do think they should be a healthier team than last year, so maybe they can pull off a playoff appearance. So it might be one or the other, specifically on the playoff part, but I definitely think they'll have their struggles next season. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels can stay healthy, but that's not a certainty. Hopefully, the Commanders don't ruin another quarterback.
Yeah, I agree with Aqua. a lot more luck than it was skill that one year. Went to the championship game with Daniels. I agree with Slushy in the fact that they will continue to struggle. I don't like the fact that they have these older players on the team. Zach Ertz, really, really old. Obviously had a nasty injury this past season. Bobby Wagner, another one. He's coming back. You know, they do have a young quarterback, but at the same time, like, where's development is at? Because I feel like it's going to be all over the place, whether or not he's good or not. So we'll see. And then obviously they got Scary Terry, who's consistently like one of the best wide receivers in the league. Just, you know, can't really catch a break when it comes to the quarterback position being the same guy every year somehow. So yeah, I feel like it was definitely a lot more of a string of luck, and I think just the injuries, the way this team is constructed, I think it's skeleton like roster. I just don't like the team and how it's constructed. I don't think they're going to be better than anybody in the East. I don't know how they're better than the Eagles. I don't know how they're better than the Giants, who got a significantly better. Even the Cowboys, who were very much mid, got slightly better. So I don't know. I really don't see how they're able to string together a team to be better than any of those three teams. So I'm going to agree with this take.
All right, since we're having a debate between Ripcord and Pine, let's just get this one out of the way. Put a Pine's hot take we decided to pick for this video. Drake made the schedule. Yep, very nice one there. Will not be a top 2 QB of the 2024 draft class, aka the draft class that includes Caleb, Drake May, obviously, Jaden Daniels, 9, also known as JJ McCarthy.
Why would you bring him into that conversation?
As of my opinion on it, it's really hard to say. There's still a lot of time left for these quarterbacks. Obviously, I think Daniels has accomplished of any of them, but so far has not been able to consistently stay healthy. That specifically, Drake May, yeah, made it the Super Bowl, so like he's made the furthest. We'll see what he can do next year on the Patriots. 9, developing. I think it's Penix, but more injury. Both of them are incredibly injury prone. And Bo Nix looked better last season, but is still Bo Nix, is the best way I can describe it. And then Caleb's basically does nothing for 3 quarters and then makes a comeback. Really weird class. I'd say he's currently in my top 2 of that class, but like I said, it's way too early for me to give an opinion on that right now.
I'll go first just to counteract the fact that this is Pine's take. I just ranked them really quick on a piece of paper. I put May at 1, Williams at 2, Daniels at 3, Nix at 4, Penix, he goes 5, then McCarthy's 6, and then Rattler's 7. I feel like that's pretty obvious, the bottom half. The top half is where the debate comes in. I think Nix is definitely not top 2. I think the debate is the top 2 is the debate between the 3 guys of Daniels, May, and Williams. I think Drake May is easily the best quarterback out of this class. I really do like Williams. I do think he is a little bit more of a magic type of quarterback than Drake May. Drake May is the definition of consistency. He gives you what you need. Like he's just bread and butter. Like he gives you good completion percentage. He'll march you down the field, and he'll put you in a position to win. I mean, that's literally what he did the entirety of this past season, and that's how they got to the Super Bowl. Like, obviously, there was some luck involved, you know, with the fact that Bo Nix gets injured and, you know, the weather and all of that. But at the end of the day, like, he marches down the field, he gets the job done, and he doesn't have this, like, this almost comprehensible way of winning football games like Caleb Williams does, or like we saw in that play where he made that throw against the Rams and all of that. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like, Caleb Williams is crazy, but, like, I gotta take the more consistent player in Drake May. And I don't think a debate between Williams and Daniels should be made yet, considering Williams struggled early on, yes, because, you know, he was bad, but also the Bears were bad. But Daniels, I think, was high peak, and I think he definitely could get back there. I just think right now he's injured, and it's just inconsistent for him. So I'd love to see him fully healthy for a year. I just don't know. He might be one of those quarterbacks that continues to get injured. We'll see, though. I think Drake May, though, is pretty easily number 1. And he made a Super Bowl. So, yeah.
I could go on for an hour about the Super Bowl run that Drake May made and how it was the luckiest run in NFL history and how he really did just play an insanely weak schedule, both in the playoffs and in the regular season. But that's not the debate that I want to make. The take that I want to make of why he is not a top 2 QB of his class is the situation he is in and what would happen if you swapped the situations of those top 2 players. I think that Drake May is by far the least important player to his team than Jaden Daniels is for the Commanders and Caleb Williams is for the Bears. Without Caleb Williams, the Bears would not be nearly the same team as they were last year. Yes, obviously they only play like a quarter and a half of football. They show up at the very end of games. But without Caleb Williams throwing these crazy passes to his receivers and his tight end Colston Loveland to barely win games, they would not be in these games at all. This supporting cast is not nearly as good as the defense that Drake May had for his Patriots team. Same thing with Jaden Daniels and his run in 2024. Without Jaden Daniels, that team is nothing. His running ability and his ability to extend plays that most other quarterbacks would kill immediately is what kept the Commanders alive for that miracle NFC Championship run in 2024. Drake May could not have done that. Drake May could not have done nearly as good in the situations that Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are in, and Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, especially Jaden Daniels, but I would argue Caleb Williams too, could have made the Super Bowl on the Patriots in place of Drake May. But he was not like a star quarterback, I would say. If the Patriots had managed to win the Super Bowl that year against the Seahawks in miraculous fashion, he would not have won Super Bowl MVP.
Well, yeah, I feel like that one's pretty obvious. I mean, Christian Gonzalez was going crazy. On that one, I'll just say something really quick, and then Aqua can give his opinion. I don't know, it's hard, but I feel like I agree with him. He said in favor of system quarterbacks. I would agree. In favor, system quarterbacks are definitely you're more likely to win with a system quarterback than you are with someone be a Lamar Jackson type of player, we'll just say, because I feel like he's a really good definition of a superstar quarterback. Or you could say Josh Allen, either or at this point. I mean, we've seen Joe Flacco, not necessarily a system quarterback because he was a solid franchise quarterback for a little while there for the Ravens, but more of like a Rich Gannon back in like the early 2000s with the Raiders. Dilfer, I want to say, was the guy who won with the Giants. He played terrible. He had like 20 touchdowns, like 18 interceptions or some crazy stat line like that, but he won like 2000s because the Giants had one of the best defenses of all time. And obviously this year, you could even argue, or last year, you could even argue, Jalen Hurts, he's a franchise quarterback, but he's also low-key a system quarterback a little bit, just a little bit. And I feel like Sam Darnold, you could argue, is a lot more of a system quarterback. I would agree with that statement just because you kind of have to, again, superstars, you're basically mortgaging your future around this player. So if this player doesn't work out, you're screwed. It's like, it'd be like a similar thing to like Giannis. Like you're mortgaging your future around a guy like Giannis. So like you kind of everything has to work around him, and if it does, you can't make that work, then you are screwed. So I feel like that with guys like Lamar, because of the money, because of the potential injuries of them going out of their way to make plays and all this type of stuff. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, yeah, it makes sense when you have like spent all of this money on a superstar quarterback. When you have like a system, two things. That's what a quarterback means. Number one, it means you have a good system. It means you don't need a superstar carrying a system. That's not good. Second of all, a system quarterback, which I feel like system quarterback is misused a lot of the time. But like when you have a good system and you have a quarterback that plays well in that system, that isn't like a superstar, you can actually put more talent around him because you don't have to pay money to a quarterback. I mean, you kind of do nowadays. It feels like almost for whatever reason now. But regardless, yeah, you have more resources. You have a good system around it, and specifically, you can put some more resources into defense or getting some help to that quarterback. It's like, yeah, just have more resources. A superstar quarterback is, like I said, it is really on them. You're putting it on one person instead of a team, which makes sense why a team sport, teams that are built around a team do better generally. But I mean, you get your Mahomes, you get other like superstars that can pull it off. But like I said, it puts a lot of pressure on you as a superstar.
So I definitely see where this take is coming from, and I do like see obviously the proven success of teams like the Eagles who have a system quarterback in Jalen Hurts. They got into 2 Super Bowls, won one of them against the Chiefs. What makes me hesitant to agree with this take is not the proven success. Obviously, that is undeniable. My hesitancy is that I don't think that the superstar quarterbacks are the reasons for their team's lack of success. I think I think that superstar quarterbacks are so good that they can take blame away from the real problems on their team. I think that the Bills GM, who just got promoted to president of the team, is the reason the Bills have been so bad, been so bad in the playoffs specifically, and haven't been able to do anything. I think that the Ravens GM and their head coach, John Harbaugh, who is obviously now in the Giants and got fired this year, I think he should have been fired a long time ago. Wasn't because of how well Lamar and playing. These guys carry their teams hard enough that the real problems of their teams don't show up. So if you have ownership who can actually identify the problems even when the team is doing well and fire them, superstar quarterbacks do not make your team worse. I think the Bears are proving that right now because they got rid of most of their problems with Eberflus before they brought Caleb Williams in.
A, they didn't, and B, Caleb superstar quarterbacks a little early and a little bit much, in my opinion. But that's all.
He's not super quarterback like yet, but I feel like he definitely has the potential to be like a quarterback like him, who the team is built around. You can still win at a big stage.
Next take we have is from Red as a Pigeon, and that is Fernando Mendoza will be labeled as a bust. Or they're not technically saying that Fernando Mendoza will be a bust, but that they will. The narrative around Mendoza, probably after the first year, I'm assuming this is kind of going with, he'll be labeled as a bust. That placement will be put on him. And I'd say I agree, just because the Raiders suck. Even if their head coach is Clint Kubiak, who's a pretty smart guy within the NFL, as shown by his career. I don't know. I feel like, this has happened too much recently where quarterbacks just truly do look like they suck because of these teams. It's really just the media. It's just the ESPN guys. I don't know if it's going to be a Dan Orlovsky, if it's going to be like someone like Stephen A. or someone else, but someone's going to label him as a bust and the narrative's going to catch on, and so I think it's going to be an incorrect narrative, but I think the narrative will attach nonetheless.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to bet in favor of the Raiders being good after how their first round picks tend to go. I mean, Brock Bowers has been pretty good. Like, they've had some alright wins in the 2020s, but like the 2010s Raiders and the 2000s Raiders draft picks, there were some real bad first round picks. So it is kind of hard to feel confident when Raiders pick someone. If it really does kind of feel hard. There's like, they made some good changes. I like some really good moves in free agency. I like what they've done. But it's really hard for me to like push past the narrative of them being the Raiders. And I like Mendoza as a prospect, but I wouldn't be shocked if he had a hard first year because of, like I said, the Raiders just being perennially the Raiders. But hey, maybe Brady and Clint Kubiak can cook this year. We'll see. We'll go with the Keon Coleman will finally break out and eclipse 1,000 yards for the first time. I feel like if that was going to happen, it would have happened this last year when they didn't really have a true wide receiver one on the roster. They might or might not with more. I assume more will be the wide receiver one, costing them a second, and also just based on his past seasons. But I guess we don't know for certain if Josh Allen will have that chemistry or not. But I feel like it's just this, like, bringing in DJ Moore is probably going to remove that as a possibility. Plus, the president made a interesting comment about him, so I'm not even sure they're gonna really play it much next season. But what do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Keon Coleman is more likely to be out of the league next year than he is to eclipse 1,000 yards.
Oh boy, Derek Carr time.
This is actually a two-person combined take. T-Dog said, Derek Carr is actually pretty good, just had bad teams and coaching. I asked if Derek Carr was a good quarterback or is still a good quarterback, and Interim said both. Is Derek Carr still a good quarterback?
Like, are you talking about the narrative, or are you talking about if he came out of retirement right now? Like,
if he came out of retirement right now.
Oh, he'd be cooked. He's out of shape, and I mean, I don't know. He might be on the same par as Philip Rivers, but he's low-key cooked now.
I don't think he would do nearly as well as Philip Rivers did, because Philip Rivers knew the system he was stepping into really well. Derek Carr, in his whatever podcast he was on, said if he was going to come out of retirement, he'd want to go to a contender. I don't think a Derek Carr has been on a contending team in his entire life.
There's only chance of that would have been signing with the Vikings. He would maybe, and even then I don't know if that Derek Carr would be able to on that ship to run anyways.
Yeah, at the end of the day, there's I'm probably missing a few guys, but there's the three guys that come to mind when I think of mid are probably in the history of recent quarterbacks. I'd probably say Joe Flacco, Kirk, and Derek Carr, the three kings of mid, I would say. I'm probably missing one or two guys, but those are the guys that come to mind, where it's like at the end of the day, they have probably less than 3 playoff wins in their entire career. Obviously, Joe Flacco's the outlier with the Super Bowl, but at the end of the day, like, they're just mid. Like, they'll give you like 20 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, like 3,500 yards. It's just complete mid stats, and then their team, it's literally a toss-up on whether or not those stats get their team to a good place at the end of the season, like in the playoffs or winning record or whatever. Like Derek Carr had so many of those seasons where it was like 22 touchdowns, like 14 interceptions, or like 29 touchdowns, but then it was like 15 interceptions. So at the end of the day, like him and Kirk and all these guys, they're just so mid. I'd probably say Kirk is the king of mid, but Derek Carr is pretty close to being the king of mid. So I guess you could say by definition then he was pretty good, because he was at least like mid and was at least considered in MVP talks for one season of his career. Or if you're in and out of the Pro Bowl year in and year out, I feel like that's the definition of pretty good. So yeah.
I feel like he maybe had a shot at like his career going on the up if he didn't get injured that year that they were like on that really good run. But unfortunately, he did get hurt, and he hasn't been able to like play at that level since. So it's like there's definitely a what if there. I feel like that like Derek Carr could have done something there. It is what it is. Unfortunately, he didn't really do anything on the Saints. He had like some decent runs. That
Derek Carr makes the playoffs his entire career.
Yeah, like twice.
I
Yeah.
don't consider that a pretty good career. If you never make it past the first round, I would not consider him a pretty good career, and especially he would not be pretty good right now.
Yeah, right now it'd be gonna. There's a chance for like anything to happen. I wouldn't bet on bro looking amazing out of retirement. Bengals are the best team in the AFC North. So, I mean, they have the offensive firepower. I don't really love their running back situation that much, but obviously their passing game is pretty insane. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. As long as they stay healthy, that trio is gonna do some cool things. But I really just aren't sold on their moves this offseason on defense. And if they take another edge in the first round, I'm still going to have zero faith in it working out, because they literally did that last season. It did absolutely nothing. And now they don't have Trey Hendrickson. So I don't know. I mean, like, their division this last year was open as all can be, and they couldn't really do much with it because of the whole Joe Burrow injury. Even then, calling them the best team, I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers coming back for the Steelers. I'd say the Steelers are probably better. The Ravens probably should still be better. I guess you don't know for certain, but like I said, I just don't like their defense, and I don't think it's going to really improve, so I think it's going to keep them from doing anything again.
I disagree with Dell's take here. I agree with Aqua. I don't think the Bengals are going to be the best team because they don't have a running back and they don't have a defense, which are two of the most important positions in football. While alternatively, the Steelers have a quite good defense. They have a quarterback who is at least competent. Obviously, Joe Burrow is much better than Rodgers, but Rodgers, even at his old age, can still do some things. Now they have a really good running back room, and they also like have some wide receivers who can do some things. Now they have Pittman. I like the Steelers this year to be like a 10-win team, 1 win better than they usually are. And I don't like the Bengals to win any more than that. So no.
The Steelers, if Aaron Rodgers can play even 50% of what he did last year, I'm giving the Steelers a better chance of better team, at least compared to the Bengals. Yeah, I like the Steelers offense a lot. I love what they've of course, besides the fact that Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback, but you know, what can you do when you hire Mike McCarthy? Ravens like the coach, think the coach can have a promising career. Hopefully he doesn't do terribly and they don't fire him. I think maybe in a few years the Ravens could be, you know, one of the best teams in the entire, like, you know, AFC, and definitely the best team in the North, but I just think they have to kind of restructure and rebuild a tiny bit with the new coach and the new kind of like system they're going to be running and all of that. The Browns, they're the Browns, so they suck. So, yeah, I know. I just think the Steelers and the Ravens are going to be slightly better than the Bengals. Maybe the Bengals, I think the best the Bengals do next year is second place.
We're going to go over Intram's other take that was not collaborative. The A's are going to make the postseason this year. I'm not going to lie, they weren't really that impressive last season. For some reason, the A's own the Tigers, but that's a whole different other discussion. But yeah, the problem they have for one right now is that they don't have a fan base like atmosphere at all, because they're stuck in Sacramento and are still trying to make it into Vegas. And even then, I don't think they'll have a fan base in Vegas because they're moving out of Oakland. But they do have this one good thing going towards them for them, and that is that their division kind of sucks. So if Seattle falls back down to earth, Houston doesn't do anything, Arlington doesn't do anything, like the Angels, like they have a shot at winning that division. So if they win that division, sure, they can make the postseason. If they don't win the division, I don't like their chances of wild card. That's the best way I'll put it.
I'll try not to make the Lions fan here mad. I do think the Lions are more likely to finish second to last than they are to finish first. I think they'll be in the middle. I don't think they'll be first. I don't think they'll be last. They'll be either second or third. I'm leaning more towards third just because, I don't know, the Packers are so weird. The Packers are always in it every year. And their team is just in this past year, and they got some players that could develop, like a Matthew Golden. Hopefully he'll develop. If he doesn't, that'd be a terrible, turn of events for the Packers. But I don't know. They have Micah Parsons now. They're just a good team. The Lions, they got some struggles, but their offense is still one of the better offenses in the league, obviously. So hopefully they can get that going to the level that they had it. Obviously, I don't think they're going to get back to the Ben Johnson level of offense. They'll be one of the better offensive teams in the league. It's probably still going to be a little hit or miss, but I like the Lions. And then the Bears are just a weird team. So actually, maybe the Lions do finish second, considering the Bears are a little bit of a luck spiral. 3/4 of the NFC North making the playoffs, though. I mean, at least is crazy. I don't think we've ever had 4 out of 4 make the playoffs. Disagree with the first take. I could see myself agreeing, though, with the second take. The NFC North has just been crazy right now. So, yeah, I could definitely see 3 out of 4 of them making the playoffs this past year. And then, of course, 3 of them didn't make it 2 years ago. So I could see that second one happening. But I don't think the Lions will be last.
I agree with Ripcord. I just go with the top take. I don't think the Lions are going to be that bad. I do think that the Ben Johnson departure did hurt them last year and will continue to hurt them, especially just vibes-wise and the kind of play that he cooks up. The 4th down conversions took a hit last year without the crazy playmaking of Ben Johnson. But I do think that they have a solid offensive line and they have a solid quarterback. I think that Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be in MVP discussions this year now that he is free from the shackles of David Montgomery. His team will be like a 9-10 win team. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think it's either going to be Green Bay or Chicago, but I do have more faith in Detroit to win some playoff games than I have in Green Bay.
We'll get this out of the way. Lions missing the playoffs again. It's going to be more difficult this time around without a first place schedule. They have a last place schedule this time. So that would make it a little more difficult. Last year, obviously, some pains, mainly the offensive coordinator position sucked, but even with, and also the run game kind of fell apart at the end, but even with that being said, they still were 5th in points last season. So I think the offense will be more than back on track with bringing in a center. Like I said, it really was just the O-line falling off because of just the players that were carrying it getting old and either kind of having some issues or retiring with Ragnow and unretiring and then re-retiring. I was so happy about that. But I think the offense should be back on track next season. Defense, I think will still be shaky. I think we'll say something similar to 2023 Lions. Maybe a little better on defense, but a little worse on offense than the 2023 Lions. Something around the lines of that. I don't think we'll see like the 15-2 insanity of the 24 Lions or the kind of the mid 2025 line. At least 3 NFC North teams making the playoffs. I mean, we literally had this happen 2 years ago, so like, why not? I guess. I think the Vikings are going to be kind of harder make the playoffs this season just because of the new chemistry is going to have to be built with Murray, that whole situation. But I think all 4 of them have a shot at making the playoffs. I don't know if all of the 4, let alone 3, will make it. But though I don't know why you'd be saying Green Bay winning the division when they're literally, it's written in the stone that they have to be the 7th seed in the NFC. It's just how it goes.
Our last hot take of today is going to be a discussion for the number 1 tight end in the league. We're coming back to Slushy, who thinks that Colston Loveland joins the debate for best tight end in the league after next year. And I'm going to have to come in and confidently disagree, because I think that this is going to be the year. I think that Brock Bowers is going to truly unleash to be not only clearly the best tight end in the league after this year, but he is going to be in like top 5 like offensive weapons for tight ends and wide receivers in the league. He is going to be incredible in a Clint Kubiak offense. I think that he was the true genius behind Seattle's crazy run, not McDonald's. And Kubiak is going to be able to unleash Bowers in a way that their previous head coaches haven't been able to.
My problem with this take more has to do with the fact of who he's competing against. We got freaking McBride, which some you could say is some people still say is a stat pattern, but regardless of that fact, he's still really good on a bad team. Kittle, insane blocker, insane catcher, bro's just good. Bowers, young star, a little off track last season, but there's no reason why he can't be in that debate again. You got the Packers over there with freaking Kraft over there being pretty insane. Bro is literally their wide receiver one. Laporta and the Lions has been pretty good, unfortunately, but injury prone as well. That could derail him. But I think there's just enough good tight ends in the league, especially in that top tier. With like I said, like the Kittle like up there, and it's gonna be kind of hard to be in that conversation for best tight end. I just feel like there's too many good tight ends for that to be a realistic possibility. But hey, Loveland has a shot. I just don't know about. Like I say, I think he can definitely take a step up. I just don't think best tight end is gonna be in the conversation.
Yeah, what's weird is I could see it just because the fact like Caleb Williams, I feel like loves to feed him the ball. But I don't see how he overcomes Bowers, who's insane. And then Kittle and McBride are like the kings of consistency. And even guys like Laporta can have really good, seasons that go under the radar. So yeah, I don't know. Loveland, the competition again, like Aqua said, it's just a little too good right now. Maybe like a year ago when like we were in a transition period of tight ends between like the older guys like Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce, so now the newer guys like Bowers and Laporta and Loveland himself. So now that we're over that transition period, it feels like the established guys that are better than Loveland, like Bowers, McBride, and others, I feel like are just gonna be better year in and year out than Loveland is. Anyways, guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below if you haven't already, and make sure to comment down below your opinions on our takes and our disagreements, agreements, and all of that kind of stuff that we discussed in this video. Let us know what you think down below in the comments. And without further ado, we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out. Bye. Don't forget to join the Discord.